Hey everyone, Captain Amazing here, and today we're going to go over when you should farm Jedi Knight Revan and Darth Revan. So let's jump into it. Jedi Knight Revan and Darth Revan are unique characters in that they are pretty old. When Jedi Knight Revan came into the game, he really was meta defining. I feel like he was, at least for me, when he was released, I felt like that was a shift in the game in power creep. Jedi Knight Revan is kind of the first character where if you did not farm him, there was just nothing you can do to deal with him. He was a tier above everything else. The same way with Galactic Legends or GL fleets in the game. Jedi Knight Revan was that first step of just this is an amazing character. And back then we had crystals in our arena shards, and these characters were very, very important. That was our main source of crystals. So Jedi Knight Revan to me was my first real farm that I farmed back in like 2018, early 2019. I really don't remember exactly when I did it, but an amazing character overall. And he is classified as an attacker, but right now he's more of a support, believe it or not. And sometimes you do use him for his lead, but when you should actually start farming Jedi Knight Revan and Darth Revan is actually pretty unique in how and when you should do it, because a lot of these characters, they're very cheap. They don't require Kyrotech. The Revans do themselves. They are and they require 3 Zetas for their investment. Overall, the team doesn't require a lot of Zetas. You probably want 4 for Jedi Knight Revan, 4 for Darth Revan minimum, at least to get them up and running. 3 for the mains, and then 1 for Bastila, and then one for Jolie. And then once we'll talk about it later, but Bastila's lead Zeta is actually still relevant. So as far as these, when you should farm them, there's not a set like you need to have certain things, but there are other things that would trigger you needing to farm these guys. So if you want to go for Leviathan, then you do have to farm Darth Revan and Malak, so you have to farm both of them. So that is one requirement. So if you're going for Leviathan, obviously you need to farm these two. If you have JML or Jedi Knight Luke or Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, then you will want to at least farm Jedi Knight Revan. So Jedi Knight Revan with Jedi Knight Cal Kestis is a very strong team. You can use Jedi Knight Revan's lead. You can use Bastila lead if you want to, with Bastila, Mace, and Jedi Knight Cal Kestis. Or there's a myriad of different teams that you can use. But overall, and that's what makes Jedi so great, is their flexibility. But once you start farming things like JML, Jedi Knight Luke, Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, you are going to want these 3 Jedi so that you can have a little more flexibility in your team. So you'll want Bastila for Bastila lead for Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, and that saves you from having to use either Jedi Knight Luke or Jedi Knight Revan. And then Jolien himself, I think he kind of like falls off a little at the end. Very strong character, has revives, kind of just doesn't age that well with his kit, but a good Jedi. I wouldn't mind placing him in any single team pretty much. And even with the assault battle with Jedi Knight Luke, I think he is very useful just to revive someone so that you can get that guaranteed 3 stars. But the rest are kind of junk. But that's when you would want to farm for sure, like 100%. If you're finishing JML, then I would say side farm Jedi Knight Revan is an excellent idea, because he elevates that JML team, especially with Jedi Knight Luke. And then especially in 3s, you can make 3 teams out of there. You can have Jedi Knight Luke, Jedi Knight Revan lead, and JML, and all 3 of those are pretty strong teams and can take out some pretty strong opponents. So once you have JML or you're going for Leviathan, that's 100% when you should farm them. But hear me out. There's also Grand Arena, right? Grand Arena, if you have Jedi Knight Revan, Darth Revan, and Malak, that's a very strong base of teams, and these kits have aged so very well. A lot of times with his death mark mechanic on the lead, you can go in even with just Bastila, Darth Revan, and a third. So I like to use one of the other Sith Empire ones, not specifically HK-47, but there's some worlds where you may have to use something like HK-47 when you divide up all the Sith Empire. But if you are lacking in offensive power in Grand Arena and you keep thinking, oh, I don't have enough teams to really punch up and be able to clear my opponent, then having something like Jedi Knight Revan and Darth Revan, especially with Malak, could be the key to having you have the firepower to get through your opponent, especially in 3v3, where you can start breaking up these teams and create fully functional teams through Jedi Knight Revan, Darth Revan, Malak, especially if you get like Malgus and all those other things, Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, JML, all those things that kind of like feed together. Like the Sith Empire faction is very, very strong. The Jedi faction is also very, very strong, and these two are pretty core members in both of those. Even though endgame, they pretty much make two teams, because maybe at most maybe three if you want to split Jedi Knight Cal Kestis and JML. But I'm in Kyber 2, and I mix and match these. You can build them up, you can spread them out. They are almost like Lego in how flexible they are and how you can use them in Grand Arena. So if you think that you need a quick boost of power, because these farms are pretty quick, like the biggest thing that holds you back from farming these farms are just the shards. Like, you don't need high gear or relics to unlock Jedi Knight Revan or Jedi Knight Luke or Malak, believe it or not. So you can go through, quickly farm the shards, and even as a side farm, and then in between your main farms, in between your GL ships, your GLs, your assault battles, just fit in Jedi Knight Revan, Jedi Knight Luke, and then you have to slowly get up Malak with Get or Mark II. And then you have a very strong team. The biggest bottlenecks for that are probably going to be the Zetas, because they still require probably at least like 4 Zetas for their team to get them fully up and running. And then if you have Malak, you'll want his Zetas as well. So I will say, if you are in that mid to late game and you need some quick firepower because you've noticed that you're just not performing in the way that you would like to, then the Jedi Knight Revan, Jedi Knight Luke, or not Jedi Knight, the Jedi Knight Revan, Darth Revan, man, the Jedi Knight tag on everyone's name really is annoying, but with Jedi Knight Revan and Darth Revan, it is an excellent farm to get characters that will last the longevity of their and have aged very well, are very budget friendly, and you can just fit them in, and they're gonna have that flexibility on offense, even on defense. Like Darth Revan, even if you go like Darth Revan, Bastila, and Savage, that's a team that pretty much takes a almost like a GL or something very, very strong to take that out, because even though they're very old characters, their fundamentals of what they do and their kits are still very, very strong characters. So overall, I will say very difficult on the exact time on when you should farm them. I will say overall, when you want some more easy firepower as a side farm, that you, especially if you're tired of farming like a GL, I think this is a refreshing farm that you can do. That's just shards. You can do it low energy. I think the Malak event is hard enough that it feels rewarding, and it doesn't have gear caps where you feel like once you hit that cap of what level you need, then you can just walk through it. So it requires actual strategy and modding to get through it, which makes it rewarding in my opinion. And I think that's a fun part of the game that a lot of people just don't appreciate anymore. But also, it's just a very easy farm that's going to make it it gives some good lasting improvements on your characters. So let me know when you're going to farm them. Also, if you've seen my guides, you will know that if you have Malak, Thrawn, and SLKR, then you can beat the Malgus Proving Grounds. There's other ways to do it, but if you have SLKR and you can Relic 3 Thrawn, and then all you need is Malak, then that's also another good time where you can side farm this so that you can beat all those Proving Ground fights. So overall, excellent farm. One last caveat though. It's definitely in the realm of a possibility that either Sith Empire or Old Republic could get a Lightspeed bundle sometime soon. So I'm not saying, hey, you all should go farm these characters right now if you need to. It's a personal decision. I think they're so budget friendly that you can do it fairly easy and unlock them, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal, and you can still buy the bundle and it'll take them to relics. So you can leave them all gear 12 except for the Revans if you want to, because even if you get the bundle, then it's not going to relic up the actual requirements of the characters. So if there's a Lightspeed bundle for Sith Empire and Old Republic, it's not going to come with an actual relic level Jedi Knight Revan or Darth Revan. So if you still want to do it, you can still farm the shards because it's pretty easy to knock those out. Take them to whatever minimum gear levels you need to unlock the events. Unlock them, invest as much as you want into Jedi Knight Revan and Darth Revan, and then that way you can still benefit from the bundle if it comes through. So again, I'm not saying farm these right now, but if you are holding back because you think that there's going to be a bundle, you might be right, but I think there's an in-between where you can still farm the shards. It's not that prohibitive. You can unlock the characters. Having Darth Revan, Jedi Knight Revan into your account, very useful characters. I think they're worth the time, and then you can just wait and see. And then that way, if we're wrong and there's not a Old Republic or Sith Empire Lightspeed bundle in a while, then you're not leaving easy power on the table left to be grabbed. So that's what all I have to say really about this farm. It is one of the more difficult ones on when you should fit in, just because they do like Jedi Knight Revan is more of a lifter, and then Darth Revan is a requirement for Leviathan. So it's just a personal judgment call on when you want to go all in on these, but I definitely think they're worth it, even if that bundle comes out. So let me know what you think. Otherwise, take care, everyone.